Greetings and welcome to this, the first in a series, I hope and trust, a series of short talks addressing really the question of our relationship with the earth, with the planet on which we depend, and hoping to examine that as a crisis, as I think we can all accept that we're in a crisis. However, I'm not going to characterize that in any way as a crisis to do with carbon emissions or energy or any of these aspects, all of which are good, recycling and all these actions that we can take to try and ameliorate the damage we've done to the planet. And all the policy decisions and policy discussions over these next few years are all well and good, but they do not address, in my view, the fundamental issue, which is to do with the assumptions that underpin our way of living in the Western world, well, throughout the world, as it is at the moment. So primarily I would say that this crisis is not a crisis of, as I said, of carbon emissions or global warming. It is much more fundamentally a crisis of culture, a crisis of values, and a crisis of thinking. Now that thinking element is something that we're going to be dealing with even this in this first short talk. I'll do a little exercise on thinking, but fundamentally it has to do with thinking. Thinking in the sense that the assumptions, the deeply embedded assumptions about what is real in the world are assumptions that we've inherited from our history, primarily from the time of the Enlightenment. And to address these, we need first of all to identify what these assumptions are, where they came from, and the effect they have had on our culture, how they have given rise to this, if you like, technical culture that we have now. That is going back, 300 years or so. So I hope that we can identify what those fundamental assumptions, some of those fundamental assumptions are, and the effect they have had on us. All right. Now it may seem odd proposal to present this as a real solution to our problems. That it's about ideas, about our way of thinking. Now, it's not about thoughts as such. It's not about having different thoughts. It's actually about the activity of thinking, the way we use our thinking, the way we engage in thinking is really at the heart of the problem. So while this talk is not, if you like, pure philosophy, it's certainly not a technical series of technical talks about actions we can take. It's really, as I said, addressing more fundamental assumptions. So it is in a way a talk to do with philosophy. Now, philosophy with a small p. If I was addressing, which I never will, address professional philosophers, obviously one of the first things I'd have to do is to use their terminology and be aware of the kind of formal training that philosophers have. And I don't wish to belittle that in any way, but that does generally render philosophical treatises as unintelligible to most people. So, and I'm also not trying to dumb down or simplify the thing. I'm trying to make it clear, the central idea of what I'm talking about. I want to try and make that clear. I will address some questions, and I'll allow on the YouTube page, I will present the references to the various texts that I will reference. So that if somebody wants to go more deeply into a particular aspect of it, the articles are there, the references are there, the sources are there. But I won't be going deeply into these sources in the talks. I want to try and present as clearly as possible, and really as simply as possible. There's nothing simple about this. It is also a challenge to stay with this over a number of weeks or months, because it will require our engagement, or your engagement, if you're going to try and follow these talks. So what I'm going to do today is just set up a very simple exercise. I'm going to present two images to you. In the first image, which is on screen, is an image that you'll be very familiar with. you'll all have seen this, and it's used for various things. It's used for entertainment more than anything, but I want to use it in a more particular way. It's an image that is both, if you look at it, it's an image that is both rabbit and duck. You can see if you take the eye facing backwards, that's the duck, and if you take the eye facing forwards, it's the rabbit. I want you to look at this, and I'm presuming most of you will be able to see both images. I want you to pay attention to where the change takes place, where the change from duck to rabbit, or indeed rabbit to duck, where does that change take place? Because it does not take place on the screen, does not take place in the image. The change that takes place is a change that takes place in us as we look at such an image. Now that seems simple enough and straightforward enough, but it actually points to a very complex and profound notion. And that is that how we experience something in the world is entirely dependent on our, I use this phrase now, repertoire of concepts. The ideas we have, the ideas we can bring to bear on our encounter with the world determine how we experience the world. I'll try and clarify that or strengthen that for you with the next image, which is on screen. The next image now, if you look at this, it's very obscure and very vague. If you look at it and try to make sense of it, maybe there's a bird down in the bottom right-hand corner, maybe there are other elements. You might think you see clouds or various things, but pay attention to what you're doing in your mind, in your thinking, when you're looking at this, trying to make sense of it. You're trying to attach a concept to what you encounter in the image on the screen. And in this case, I'm sort of cheating in a way, because if you turn the image clockwise 1/4, then you'll see or hopefully you'll be able to see what is presented to you as an image. The point I'm trying to make and reinforcing, and we'll do so again and again throughout these talks, is that how we experience the world depends on the concepts we bring to bear on the world. The reason that's important is because the repertoire of concepts, the if you like, cultural repertoire of concepts that we in the Western world have determine how we experience the world. I will be making the case, I hope strongly enough for you, making the case that repertoire of concepts no longer serves us, no longer serves the earth, no longer serves the planet, no longer serves our culture, and that we need to examine these fundamental assumptions to first of all realize what they are, to accept that we have them, and to be able to subject them to some sort of critical examination and see, is there a way for us to challenge these and accept that there are other possible ways of knowing the world, ways that enrich us hugely, ways that are much more respectful, intimate and loving of the natural world. And the journey from where we are now, broadly speaking in Western culture, to that new possibility, one new possibility. It's not the only new possibility, I'm sure, but it's that one possibility of experiencing the world differently is quite a journey. It requires us to do quite some work. I'm going to leave it there for this first talk. Next time, in a week or so, I'll be putting up a second and so on, a third and fourth and fifth and perhaps 6 of these short videos. I will next time again go back to this notion of our experience is the meeting place of two things. The one is the actual percept, if you like, or what exists in the world beyond ourselves, that and our encounter with that world, to which we bring our thinking to bear through concepts. We make sense of this, if you like, senseless world through our thinking, through our the attention we bring to it and the concepts we bring to bear on it. All right, we'll leave it there for this time.